Well, hello again, friends. Glad you could join us. Welcome to another edition of the Monkey Mafia Esports series. Tonight we head to what I think, frankly, personally, is a fantastic place to start your 23rd lap of the sun. It's that of the Silverstone circuit here in England for the is it British Grand Prix? Yeah, it has to be. It's not the English Grand Prix, it's the British Grand Prix. Anyway, fantastic race we're going to have for you tonight, starting with a very good race for the pole position. I say race, qualifying session for the pole position. It does end up with DJE flat on pole, 126.527. Only get this 1/100th of a second ahead of second place of Reimer. Third place will start Ayahuasca's 3.5 tenths back. Fourth place will be Charlie Golf. Fifth, Capitan. Sixth will be Cam Tizzle. Seventh is Slayerized. Eighth is Anime Boy. Ninth is Ronnie. 10th is JC Auto Labs. 11th is King Pro Player. 12th is Tony Lenta. 13, and hopefully I'm getting this right, is DJ Quokka. I hope I get that right. If not, I can only do so much. Gavin 14th. It'll be Valentine 15th. Jacob 16th. Frenchie 17th. And it'll be Yo My Monster. Instead of piloting the Red Bull, now in the V-Carb. So yeah, what better way to cap off your birthday than a good old-fashioned Carvel ice cream cake, a couple of glasses of Screwball, and what could potentially be a race of the season candidate here in Silverstone. I mean, this is just genuinely one of the best tracks in the world for motor racing, and every time we visit this circuit, whether it be in real life or the virtual world, it just leaves us absolutely nothing except fantastic races. Hopefully, I'll give you a chance to do the Driver and Constructors Championship here in a second. I'm not too sure after this I don't remember quite much if we do Formation Lap or not, but anyway. Ayahuasca does lead the table by 13 points over Reimer. Granny 3rd, King Pro 4th, Lancey 5th, Ronnie 6th, Cam Tizzle 7th, 8th is Slayerized, 9th Charlie Golf, and 10th is Jacob. As far as the constructors are concerned, the McLarens lead the way only by 4 points over the V-Carbs in 2nd, Aston Martin in 3rd, Mercedes 4th, Haas in 5th, Alpine, Red Bull, Sauber, Williams, and Ferrari round out the constructors' standings. And we are just about set to go here at one of the great venues of motor racing in the world. And again, it's been a very fun day this. What better way to end it, that's for sure. 18 cars on the grid for us tonight. It's going to be a fantastic race through those first couple of corners, through Abbey, the Farm Curve, and the Loop. And then heading with that DRS down up to Brooklands, down the Wellington Straight there. And, we do have Formation Lap. Oh, no we don't. Never mind. 5 lights are on. I didn't hear the buzzers. I'm sorry. We are underway from Silverstone. DJ E Flat has gotten a good start. He's dead even with Reimer off the line as they make their way to the first quarter. The 3 wide behind them. As in the middle, El Capitan gets done in by Ayahuasca around the outside. And I believe that was Charlie Golf around the inside as they make their way in through the loop now, and then eventually down the Wellington Straight. After this, Charlie Golf has gone way deep into the corner. He's going to be wheel-to-wheel contact made with El Capitan. It's the V-Carb on the inside is taking the spot back as the top 2 down the pit straight have stayed the same. There's a lot of jumbling on back as we make our way into Brooklands now. Luffield and Woodcote after that. As we make our way through, side by side they go as they're about to head down the not Support Series pit straight. I believe this is the National pit straight, this. Anyway, as they make their way through, Cam Tizzle watching on, and actually it's behind him as well. Slayerized and Ronnie side by side as they go to make their way towards Cops Corners. Everybody's going to sort themselves out through that. Lap 12 to 19, that's your tire strategy now, as making their way through Maggots, Beckett's, and eventually Chapel after that. Reimer is very close behind DJ E Flat as they were in qualifying, only behind by 0.3 of a second. Of course, he will not have DRS this time by. He will have it on the next go-round. Down the Hangar Straight, heading up the hill into Stowe. To the inside, chooses Reimer. The door will genuinely be shut there and will not be able to make the challenge, as now they make their way into Vale and eventually Club Corner after that, and then down the Hamilton Straight, and we have completed our first lap of the Grand Prix. A lot of mixing going on in the back. Ronnie's gone around the outside of Slayerized, who's now going to lose a spot again. Ayahuasca and Charlie Golf. I think Ayahuasca's actually taking Charlie Golf to the inside there, going through Club Corner as they make their way down the pit straight. Contact behind, as that Haas is not even driving erratically. It's more internet connectivity issues, it seems, as they make their way through Aintree in the loop, or whichever way that is. I don't quite remember, I'll be fair with you. Down the Wellington Straight now they go. And as they make their way, the Haas of Ronnie to the inside may have a very good look on him here as they make their way into Brooklands. He will be at least trying to outbreak the Ferrari and has. Round the outside through Luffield. Woodcote after that, and it looks like the Ferrari will stay ahead of the Haas as our grid is very much bunched together here, except for Ayahuasca, who is behind by 2.5 seconds over the top two, who still remain within 0.2 of a second of each other here. Let's have a quick look at the tire strategy. Every compound, dry compound, is being used today. More specifically, it appears 6 out of the top 10 drivers have gone for the soft tires on this occasion, as Reimer's going to check himself to the inside, and he will be making that spot happen well before they get up the hill to Stowe. As they look behind, Charlie Gulf on the mediums, going to try to get around Ayahuasca also on the mediums, and he's done that rather easily. Only one driver has gone hard for this occasion. It is that of King Pro Player. Otherwise, it's a pretty even split between those who have gone soft and those who have stayed medium. And into Vale now, a bit of an accordion effect happening behind. It's resulted in the Alpine having gone round, as it looks like Reimer's going to set the fastest lap here, but we do have a bit of contact there, and I think it was maybe just a bit of miscommunication into the braking zone on that one. It certainly seems like that's the case. That is definitely a common thing to have, as now they make their way into Village and the loop after that. Making their way out of Aintree and then down the Wellington Straight. DRS activated. Charlie Golf is going to be the one under pressure now. He will choose to defend the outside, which will be the better line through Luffield, and that's actually done quite well. Ayahuasca's realized that and is not challenged behind him. Meanwhile, Cam Tizzle being overtaken. El Capitan to the inside of Luffield, and as they go through and exit Woodcote now, the Ferrari's up to 5th, but maybe still will Cam Tizzle have a look as they make their way towards Cop's Corner. He's got the inside. Risky business here, and, well, entrepreneur potentially, because risky business yields results, as it looks like the Ferrari has nearly forced the Haas of Ronnie off the circuit there, as Anime Boy and Valentine side-by-side contact made there as they make their way through Maggots and Beckett's, as now Anime Boy is going to be the first driver of the day with a 3-second time penalty, as King Pro Player, something's gone wrong with him. He has fallen several positions there in just that short amount of time. Ayahuasca has overtaken Charlie Golf back up to 3rd as they go through Stowe and down the hill into Vale. 4.2 seconds is the gap between Ayahuasca and the top two. As we have a yellow flag, and it's Anime Boy who's gone round, and I believe it's happened at Vale again. Yes, it has. Our second real incident of the day there. Doesn't look like he's got any wing damage, and well, the track will continue under green flag conditions as Cam Tizzle to the back end of Charlie Golf as they make their way through the loop and heading into Aintree after that. That Sauber, I think, may have gone a little bit wide. Cam Tizzle's going to have a good exit here. Down the Wellington Straight they go. Cam Tizzle's going to have a look to the inside. Charlie Golf hasn't completely shut the door, but will inch ahead, and Cam Tizzle will resort to the outside, as now trying to maneuver his way around the Sauber, but that Sauber has positioned himself quite perfectly in every essence of that corner, and does stay ahead for the time being. Meanwhile, as we do now have Capitan, he has gone around. That is exiting Luffield there. It's a slightly odd place to have gone around. Has he gone into the curb on the outside? It certainly kind of appears that's what's happened, as really you don't get many hints of oversteer or even slight error coming out of that corner, but it certainly happened then. Down the Hangar Straight they go now, 0.4 of a second separating the top two. Ayahuasca in the distance there, as you can see, maybe under pressure from Charlie Golf. He's actually outside of that second barrier, as Cam Tizzle's going to find his way to the left side of the Sauber in question. Charlie Golf's going to outbreak him there on the inside, and as they exit Stowe and down into Vale, the Haas does have the advantage, as now Ronnie's going to be under pressure from the Aston of Slayerized potentially as they make their way through Club Corner and down the Hamilton Straight once again. Maybe not. I think Slayerized is quite comfortable where he's at for now. He's got to conserve those soft tires as much as he can. Little surprise, DJ E-Flat has not been able to re-overtake Reimer despite having damn near identical pace between the two cars, and of course DRS will be activated for the Sauber as well, as down the Wellington Straight they go into Brooklands, and once again the McLaren is ahead by about 0.2 of a second, which really isn't that much, but as you could see there, it's quite the gap between them. And yeah, I mean, for the time being, Reimer's got him absolutely matched on pace. I don't think Reimer's going to have enough to really get outside of DRS range on that Sauber. I think DJ is going to stay right up with him, and considering they're both in the soft tire, that really does limit their strategy options. So we're going to be really seeing a fun one today on the strategy front. As a bit wide there goes Charlie Golf. Contact with the back end of Cam Tizzle as Ronnie follows in behind. Has to check up there as the Sauber moved across the circuit. As we've only got about a tenth of a second, couple of tenths there. As Anime Boy at the back has gone off again, I'm afraid. Exiting Chapel now up the hill into Stowe. The battle for the lead has remained the same. Meanwhile, Charlie Golf trying it around the outside. Look at Ronnie's going to go on his teammate and the Sauber here. Double overtake for Ronnie if he's able. He's side-by-side. Contact made with Charlie Golf as Cam Tizzle files in behind. He's wheel-to-wheel with his teammate here entering Vale. As Charlie Golf is going to appear to be the victor of that battle, as Ronnie's going to... Oh, and Cam Tizzle for that matter. I was going to say, Ronnie had a bit of oversteer getting on the throttle. Unfortunately, as well, for Cam Tizzle, he's had it much worse, and does lose the spot to Slayer Eyes as well. Thankfully, did not hit anything or anyone in that exchange, which is good for him. Making their way out of Aintree and down the Wellington Straight once again. DJ E Flat this time will have a very good run on Reimer. Has a bit of a peak alongside of him there, but he hasn't committed to the move, and I think, yeah, it's probably going to be much of the same, because you know for a fact that one car is going to have DRS, the other one won't. If you trade, it's going to be, you know, let's say you make that overtake happen, then you're on the back foot for the next one. I think DJ kind of realizes that. Maybe he's going to be trying to conserve his softs just a little bit more than potentially Reimer is. Definitely a possibility. Again, we don't really see the soft tires get used as much as they are here. You know, in a typical virtual Grand Prix, usually it is really just either mediums or hards. Oh, look at this! Through Cop's corner they go, Red Bull on the outside. And, well, it hasn't ended up with the Red Bull in the barriers. As a matter of fact, Tony Lenta does stay in that 10th spot. But I was saying, yeah, we don't really see soft tires get used that much in these 50% distance Grand Prix, so it's quite interesting to see the amount of discrepancy we have in the strategy tonight, as Jacob's going to try to send it around the outside of Stowe on Valentine here. Meanwhile, behind him, Capitan and Tony Lenta still as well, side by side, wheel to wheel, heading into Vale. Tony Lenta, who I think has had a really good opportunity there to try to get around Capitan, has actually failed to take it. Capitan was going to be boxed in behind the Williams, and as well ahead of him, the other Ferrari. Tony Lenta, I think, I was going to say missed out on the opportunity, has finally taken the spot, but I think that one could have been done much earlier. Meanwhile, Gab in on this battle, as well as King Pro Player, as well as Quokka in this as well. Big lock up there for the McLaren. He's probably rather picked it up quite nicely, but still, King Pro Player around the outside of Gab as they exit the corner. DRS up next, and then the Mercedes got him well here. We did have a movement just then. Fortunately, I can't quite remember who it was. But overtake there somewhere along the top of the grid. So 7.5 laps in now. Reimer has the lead. Has improved the one spot. DJ obviously having lost that spot, although it is, again, razor-thin margins between the two, having been separated in qualifying by a literal 1/100th of a second. Ayahuasca, who usually you'd really have to say is one of the quickest drivers on the grid, does seem to be struggling here. He is down now by nearly 5 seconds to the back end of the top two as Charlie Golf tries it around the outside of Slayer Eyes, as well as the duo of the Haas's behind him. Slayer Eyes is in a very difficult spot here. Ronnie's going to go to the inside. Slayer Eyes is going to have good acceleration around the outside of Stowe. He'll then have the inside of Vale. And he has failed to outbrake Ronnie there, as now Cam Tizzle is going to go for that opportunity as well. Cam Tizzle and Slayer Eyes side by side, exiting Club down the Hamilton Straight. Wheel to wheel still, bit of contact there. Slayer Eyes has backed off. The Ferraris now swapping positions as Capitan is now up to 10th. Tony Lenta has made his way to 9th. We'll check with them in a minute. We do also have, of course, the battle for the lead, which, incredibly enough, has yielded not that many interesting results for the time being. This battle amongst the top 5 is pure chaos and excitement at the moment. Ronnie had a little bit of a peek to the inside there of Charlie Golf, nothing more. Cam Tizzle's actually starting to fall behind his teammate here quite considerably. Slayer Eyes is going to have to look to get around him if he wants to stay in this fight. Of course, if we look at tires, Cam Tizzle on the mediums, as we do have another yellow flag, I'm afraid Anime Boy has gone off once again. So through Maggots and Beckett's they go. I'll open the penalty tracker for you. Through Maggots and Beckett's they go, and now exiting Chapel. You'd have to say again, the very dead on even between the two of them. DJ is not going to have any sort of advantage here. What I will say is this: DJ has been able to conserve the majority of his energy there. Full battery for him, as Reimer ahead is down to about his last 30%. 32%, that's what I'm going to guess. 42 is close enough. So I know a lot of people have that telemetry on. I think it does quite crowd the screen a little bit, as Jacob has now been overtaken then by both Tony Lenta and Capitan. Bit of contact there with the back end of the Red Bull, as King Pro trying to get round Valentine. Rather, Valentine on the inside of King Pro through Vale. King Pro back to 12th, now 13th, as Gab will get round him too. Jeez, what a poor race this has been for King Pro player. First of all, qualifying as far back as he did, and now losing spots left, right, and center. I'll say that, only 2 positions, but still, having started as far back down the grid as he has, you can't really afford to lose any, can you? Jacob and Valentine now wheel to wheel, going through the loop. Jacob's going to have a good exit there, and Valentine is not going to be able to challenge. Looks as if the Haas's have swapped position here. Cam Tizzle up to 5th. Of course, he is on the medium tires. He will probably be at the advantage here when it comes to trying to track down Charlie Golf, who has relatively remained unchallenged in the recent laps. Let's see if that changes now. Meanwhile, top of the grid through Maggots and Beckett's they go. DJ E Flat is now within a 10th.5 of Reimer now, as they make their way up, coming through Chapel, DRS activated. And here it goes. This might be the attack now from DJ E Flat, using the energy. Is he going to be able to pull alongside? To the inside he goes. Reimer's actually going to outbrake him. Either that or DJ felt as if he couldn't commit to that move. Either way, Reimer will stay top of the grid. DRS obviously activated for the Haas here, but he's not really pushing for that move necessarily. He's stayed quite comfortable in that 5th place. He doesn't need to eat his tires any more than he already has. Tony Lenta around the outside of Valentine. He'll go up to 8th. King Pro player around the outside of Quokka, up to 13th now. So we're now on the 10th lap of this Grand Prix. Reimer does lead DJ E Flat. According to the drivers in the race that have messaged me, there will be no rain for this occasion. We're going to stay dry all the way through. Cam Tizzle within a 10th of Charlie Golf now. Get back to the battle for the lead just a little bit. It is DRS. Of course, we don't see too many moves be made into this Brooklands corner. It's not really the most driver-friendly braking zone to make something happen in. Of course, they'll be side-by-side, but with how the corner flows, you just don't often see a solid move be made. But maybe that'll change here with Cam Tizzle to the inside of Charlie Golf. And, well, if I'm definitely allowed to be wrong, aren't I? Because I am there. Ronnie to the back end of Charlie Golf as they make their way down the, what I believe is the National Pit Straight. This, if I'm wrong, yell at me, that's fine. As they make their way through Cop's Corner now, it's about a 10th between all 3 of them. Meanwhile, Slayer Eyes, who seems to have actually slightly fallen off the back of this battle, trying to work his way back up. Tony Lenta now up to 3 seconds penalty. He's gone wide at Cops. Up the hill in a stow. DJ E Flat gets within 3/10 of Reimer, but no overtake made. Down the hanger straight now. The Sauber will choose the outside, and he's made the move happen. Charlie Golf back to 4th. Slayer Eyes looking for on Ronnie. He's not been able to make any sort of move happen, as that battle will remain lukewarm for now, I guess, almost. It's not really, I would say it's heating up, but it's definitely been hotter about 10 minutes ago. Cam Tizzle now. Oh, he's right up against the back end of Charlie Golf. Any sort of check-up from Charlie Golf, and Cam Tizzle sends a Sauber flying. Try not to ask Joe Guan Yu about that one. We'll check back with these fellas in a minute. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead got within about a 10th.5 there. DJ was not able to make a move happen into Brooklands, as Charlie Golf will lead them down the Wellington Straight now. The Haas of Cam Tizzle next up in line. Will he try to outbrake him? No. He had a slight peak there, but again is unable to commit to the move. Ronnie trying the outside on those soft tires. I tell you what, these soft tire runners, the tires are actually holding up quite well. I did not expect the tires to go this late into the run here. I think realistically we could be looking at a situation where those in the softs and the mediums pit around the same window, which is a hell of a surprise, let me add. But still, I mean, we can even look at it this way. I think Ayahuasca, is he on those mediums? Yes, he is. Ayahuasca has shaved only a 10th off of the top 2 cars ahead of him. Now, despite being 10-lap-old soft tires, obviously versus the 10-lap-old mediums. Here goes Cam Tizzle. He'll try the outside of the Sauber once more, and he's made it happen. Let's see if Ronnie tries to go for that one as well. Not quite. Cam Tizzle's left a lot of room there on the inside. Charlie Golf nearly wanted to have it, as Ronnie, what he will have is a 3-second time penalty, and now, I believe, is the first of the soft tire runners to make a strategical pit stop here. Will it be to the hard tires, or does he think the mediums are a reasonable idea? And it will be to the mediums here. Nope, that's for the Ferrari behind him. By the way, I mean, that makes sense, too. Yep, it is the medium tires anyway for the Haas here. So anyway, exiting the pit lane now, Ronnie's going to drop down to at least 14th here. Slayerized. So Ronnie, Slayerized, and Capitan were the three that have pit this time by. That means if anything, we can expect these remaining couple of soft tire runners, in fact, the only two now on the grid, of Reimer and DJ Flat to pit within the next 2 laps. Of course, it does require a lot of talent to drive on this old of a soft tire, and I think maybe comfort is more important for some of those other fellas. These two are going for pure pace and for the win. So DJ Flat's gone a little bit wide there through Beckett's, and I think maybe now... Yeah, that has not helped him whatsoever. He's lost about 0.3 of a second there to Reimer. He's just pushed ever so wide and has hurt him getting on acceleration going through Chapel. Reimer will be into the pit lane. DJ E Flat will choose the overcut here and think, hey, maybe can I outpace him on track? That is a bold decision. Those two have been even Stevens the entirety of the Grand Prix and the qualifying session, as I've mentioned. That's a risky one from DJ E Flat. I do not like that call. To try to overcut Reimers. We do have a yellow flag. It's the Ferrari of Valentine who's gone around, I believe. Oh, he must have made contact with another driver. I don't think you necessarily saw that. Maybe you can there to the inside of the straight. Those tire marks there. I think Valentine has gotten into it with another driver there. Yeah, that's unfortunate for him. What I will say is I don't believe he doesn't appear to be missing any front wing. Reimer will exit the pit lane back in about 11th. No, it's going to be 10th. Monster does not get the ability to overtake him here. He will. And I will say this is good for Reimer. He'll be able to file in behind his teammate Akwoka here. And now this is very interesting. Reimer has actually chosen the hard tires, which these other soft tire runners that have pit so far have gone for the mediums. That is a very bold call from Reimer. I'm not sure I like it. Maybe does he have less faith in the mediums, and that's why he's going to the hards? He absolutely must. Either that or he's more informed. I don't know. That's a bit of an interesting one to me. We'll have to see what DJ does this time by when he does stop. Of course, not to mention we are expecting those medium tire runners to stop any lap now as well. It's definitely going to happen here. It's kind of all kicking off at once as Reimer's overtaken his teammate there at Cop's Corner. As now Kwoka is actually missing a bit of front wing and Slayerized if he's left the session. That's not going to be helpful. Oh, and DJ E Flat has picked up a tenner for speeding into the pit lane. That is about as unfortunate as it gets. As Cam Tizzle is retired on the way into the pit lane. We have a safety car. That car has slid off the track, exiting Stowe right in front of the pit lane. We have a safety car on track, and boy, have the tables turned here. Ayahuasca has missed pit entry. Charlie Golf as well. DJ E Flat does pit. Of course, will have the tenner to his name. Does choose the medium tires. Tony Lenta to the softs. Jacob probably going to choose the hards here. Unless... No, it will be the soft tires for the Williams. So this is interesting now because we've got this situation where the guys who started on the mediums are going to the softs instead of the hards, which I think Reimer probably figured. So Reimer is going to be in quite the position here when we get back underway. Of course, we're closing in on 10 laps to go. This is getting to be a difficult one strategical-wise, as Jacob's going to exit the pit lane in 9th. But, I mean, we've got guys who started on those medium tires now on the softs with only just Ayahuasca and Charlie Golf left to pit. This is a very interesting pit window here. I almost have no idea what they're going to pick. The hards seem like the reasonable choice, but of course the softs went very, very late into that run. It was a fantastic time to be on the soft tires. They've had great pace and they lasted a hell of a long time, longer than I expected. Well, let's see what they decide to do. Charlie Golf will enter the pit lane eventually behind Ayahuasca. Slayerized has rejoined the session, thankfully. This is a big moment here. They are still, I would say, well ahead of Reimer. Soft tires going on for Ayahuasca as well as potentially Charlie Golf. I'm going to assume that's the decision he's making. Yes, it is. Reimer almost undoubtedly here will be on the back foot. Once he crosses the line, he won't have to adhere to Delta anymore. Here he goes. Will he be able to overtake Ayahuasca exiting the pit lane? No! Wow. Ayahuasca, the car who we thought was pretty much out of the running all day long, now finds himself in the lead of the Grand Prix almost undoubtedly, as he will be on the soft tires with the back end of this run. Reimer will obviously be on the hard tires, which are slower and will last longer. Oh, that's a really difficult decision there for Reimer. I think if he does lose this race, it's going to be strategical. It's going to be due to that. What a turn of events we are seeing here. This is a fantastic, leading up to a fantastic conclusion to this Grand Prix, I am sure, as the cars make their way through Brooklands and Luffield and Woodcote after that. We'll step aside to allow the safety car to sort itself out. So the safety car will be in at the end of this lap. While we were away, we did have an interesting situation. Gab has actually, he has pit under that safety car for the soft tires. He did, in the process, pick up a 10-second penalty for ignoring the yellow flags. Now, what he's done, and it's not his fault whatsoever, is that he's actually entered the pit lane whilst overtaking car. As he's entered the pit lane, he's obviously sped up to try to get in there as quick as he can. In doing so, he has overtaken cars on the circuit, and the game has recognized that and flagged him for a 10-second penalty. Now, that is not his fault and should not have been penalized, but I'm afraid, as Slayer Eyes is retired, what have we done here? What? Where has that car gone off the track? Slayer Eyes, I think, is just retired on his own. I don't even know. Anyway, back under green flag, Ayahuasca, as we mentioned before, undoubtedly is going to be in the benefit. What is happening here? Why is Capitan so far behind? As we've got now nearly, it's a massive gap. It's a 5-second gap between Capitan and the rest of the grid in the top 5. Yeah, very odd. What I was going to say is this, is that absolutely not Gab's fault, but I'm afraid that there's really nothing you could do from a steward standpoint if he wasn't to have stopped, or if the game had not served that penalty during that stop, he would have gotten that 10 seconds back. But I'm afraid, unfortunately, there's just nothing else to do with that. Reimer's just been overtaken by Charlie Gulf heading into Brooklands now. It's Tony Lenta in that 4th spot. Also on those soft tires. Here's a look at the tires here. Reimer, the only car on the grid on the hards. Everybody who started the race on the medium tires has gone to the softs. Instead of what I believe Reimer probably predicted to be the hard tires. Anyway, we've got 10 laps to go here in what's been a thrilling British Grand Prix so far. And as they exit Chapel, Ayahuasca leads Charlie Gulf by 1.5 seconds. Remember, the entirety of the race we were saying, Ayahuasca looked to be the odd man out in the battle for the win. As it turns out, he's very much there. And he's either got some sort of sorcery going on here, or he has done it absolutely correctly on every front up to this point, and now finds himself in the lead of the Grand Prix by 1.5 seconds. Reimer, on the other hand, I don't believe I think it's just a pure error, really. The hards were absolutely... See, here's the thing. I think if the race stayed green, the hards would have absolutely been the correct tire to go on. I think Reimer was definitely planning on that. We didn't have really any semblance of incident or safety car. Anime Boy retired to the pit lane. Cam Tizzle retired. He was the one that's caused the safety car as he spun coming out of Stowe and hit the wall on the inside next to the pit lane. That's why the safety car came out. And again, I think if this race had stayed green through to the end, Reimer would have absolutely been on the correct strategy here, but he hasn't, and now is firmly and totally on the back foot. As we make our way exiting Woodcote now, El Capitan leads DJE Flat, King Pro Player, who seems to be on the up here in the recent laps, or is at least trying to get more that way. He's had a hell of a poor day so far, but if I know anything about King Pro Player, he's very quick in his own right, and he's got an opportunity for at least 2 positions here. But again, my question is, what has happened with El Capitan on the start of that safety car? The top 5 had rounded the final corner as Reimer is being overtaken by Tony Lenta now up the inside, and down to the 4th spot is now Reimer. The top 3 cars now all situated on the softs, as DJ Flat will now get around Capitan. The top 5 cars had made their way round This final corner, Vale and through Club, and I mean, they were well ahead of the rest of the grid. Just not something you see. Was Capitan away from keyboard and held up the rest of the grid? It absolutely could be the case. That's the only thing I think would happen. There's no gain for Capitan for doing something like that on purpose. It's not even like it would help his teammate or anything. That is just a pure weird moment there. And now it does appear that the majority of the grid with 3-second penalty. Well, I say that for 8 cars with penalty here out of the 15. So yeah, the majority. And still coming up on 5 laps to go here shortly. What that will tell us, though, is that we'll be in a position. Oh, big slide from Reimer. He's caught it. And not only that, he's now got to defend from the Haas behind him. That was a massive, massive moment there for Reimer, and it's nearly impacted his race heavily. As a matter of fact, had he not caught that car, he would have not only have taken himself into the barrier, but probably Ronnie as well. But anyway, I think realistically, we're at that point now when we still got a good handful of laps left. We're going to see more drivers pick up 3-second penalties. It'll get us eventually back to level pegging. But for the time being, those without are definitely going to improve here. Reimer's going to be one of them. He's got about 0.3 of a second ahead to Tony Lenta. DJ E-Flat is a little bit too far away to make anything happen to Ronnie, as Ronnie's actually going to nearly be side-by-side with Reimer going through Vale. Capitan will be side-by-side with King Pro going into Vale, and that's contact there. Jacob watches on and hopes for a mistake, and there it is! And the 2 cars into the barrier on the outside! As they both, wheel-to-wheel, they locked it, and wow, they tumble down the order heavily now. They can't even get back to the pit lane. That's the worst part. They're going to have to go an entire extra lap of this circuit. No visible damage for Capitan. King Pro player charges on, again, also without visible damage. And that was King Pro player on the inside there. They went through the corner. I didn't initially see anything wrong with either car going through there. Maybe did King Pro hit the elevated curb on the inside of the corner and he pushed wide and got into the Ferrari? Maybe did he get heavy on the wheel spin and collide with him? That doesn't seem like a normal incident there. There has to be pure error from somebody. Oh, because again, we've seen cars go side by side through there all day. That has not happened with any of them. That is a very odd incident. And that has pretty much ended any hopes of having a good day here for King Pro player, unfortunately, because to this point, again, it's not been a very good day, but if there's a point there where he did genuinely look as if he was going to be on his way back to success. As it turns out, looks can be deceiving. Quokka's going to get around Jacob here as they make their way through Stowe. Valentine looks in behind. He is in a battle for position with this Williams ahead of him. As far as Quokka, he's obviously going to have to hope for that McLaren to pick up a 3-second penalty. Reimer now within 1/10 of a second of Tony Lenta, and this is really interesting here because Tony Lenta is behind Charlie Golf by 2 seconds. Charlie Golf is now behind Ayahuasca for 2 seconds. For the first time this Grand Prix, the top 2 or 3 cars are not even remotely within striking distance of each other. This is very, very odd of a race here. Well, odd as it may be, it has been very exciting, and it has to be said. It's been a fantastic way to cap off this birthday of mine as Jacob around the outside of Quokka, wheel to wheel, they go through Brooklyn's contact made there. Valentine watches on. He'll hold that inside line. The McLaren is shuffled out of position there. Jacob up to 7th. Could open the door for Valentine. Yeah, I don't think he's immediately in position to go gutsy there. At the line this time will be 5 laps to go remaining in the British Grand Prix. As through Maggots and Beckett's, and eventually into Chapel after that. DJ E-Flat, sorry, this is Jacob, as Reimer's actually going to get around Tony Lentz around the outside, heading into Stowe. King Pro player now 3 seconds of penalty. Quokka around the outside has gotten Jacob, and out of the inside looks Valentine. Oh, he's just a little bit too far back to be able to commit to that one. You can tell he wanted it. You can tell he's hungry, Valentine. But the more things change, the more they stay the same. Jacob back to 8th, Valentine back to 9th, and Quokka back to 7th. Ronnie within 1/10.5 of Tony Lenta here. This is a genuine battle for position as well. Neither of these cars will be losing their spot to that of DJ E-Flat with the gap they do have. They're 2 seconds to the good of keeping these current positions that they do have. DRS activated down the Wellington Straight. Of course, as I've said, 5 laps to go here. What I will say is this. Ayahuasca has lost about, 0.2 of a second back to Charlie Golf. But again, in his own league, Ayahuasca here, it certainly seems. A driver, again, all race long, did not look like the driver to beat. And this will absolutely raise the point differential between the top two. Ayahuasca leads the points coming into today's Grand Prix by 13 points over that of Reimer, and this will have absolutely not helped the McLaren whatsoever. DRS activated again as they make their way down the hangar straight. Tony Lenta, will he have a look around the outside? No, he's not going to be remotely close enough. Ronnie in position as well, is actually slightly falling off the back of this battle. Behind them, Jacob having a look to the inside of Quokka here. Valentine looking on, wheel to wheel they go. Gavin Monster behind as well. Definite contact there between Jacob and Quokka, now going through Vale. Williams on the inside. A bit of a slide there for Jacob. Back on the throttle. Quokka still around the outside. He's gone well over the curb there. You can assume he's picked up a warning for that. And one more warning, and that'll spell all 3 of these cars back on level pegging. But for the time being, this battle remains as it is. We'll check with them in a minute. Tony Lenta wants to have a look to the inside of Reimer. He's not really close enough to make that happen. Ronnie seems to have fallen off the back of this duo he's battled. Meanwhile, Ronnie's actually lost about 1.5 seconds to DJ E flat behind him. DJ is now 0.4 of a second away for being able to overtake Ronnie on penalty as Quokka to the inside of Jacob through Luffield, and he's made it happen. Fantastic move there from Quokka, as now Jacob watches on. Now for Jacob, he's got a good chance here because Quokka could probably go wide going through Kopp's corner. No, he hasn't. He's handled it actually better than the Williams there, in fairness. Valentine, 10.5 behind, trying to find a way to have even a look at Jacob here for the time being. At the line this time will be 3 laps to go. Through Kopp's corner, this is Stowe. Through Stowe they go, and down into Vale. Jacob is again, well, he's not quite going to be close enough this time. I do expect fireworks in these closing laps now. Tony Lenta, 10.5 behind Reimer here as they make their way through Sector 1 and about to head down the Wellington Straight. Charlie Golf is, whatever time he's gained to the back end of Ayahuasca, he's now lost. To the inside looks Tony Lenta. And that Red Bull will be, at least for now, picking up that position as Reimer not only will immediately try to have it again down the inside, but of course with the penalties involved. Yeah, it's risky wanting to make that overtake there, because if you're on the inside of that corner, the corner flows, you're on the inside breaking into Brooklands, you're going to be on the outside through Luffield and Woodcote. You're just, unless you really get ahead of them there and you purely outbrake him and get round him before the next turn-in phase, you're just not going to have it. And that's kind of what we saw right there with Tony Lenta. Had the inside there going into Brooklands. But as the corner went along, Reimer was able to keep ahead. But not for long. That's Tony Lenta to the inside, and now we'll at least have the 3rd spot on track. But wait, there's more. Reimer on the outside doesn't amount to anything. Well, I'm sorry. I thought we were going to get something there. Ronnie watches behind and hopes for a penalty from Reimer, even one, potentially another one from Tony Lenta. He's very much on the outside looking in of this battle for the 3rd spot as we have 2 laps to go. Oh, but look at this. Reimer's gotten around Tony Lenta there, or at least, has gotten him back. That is a bit of a very odd place to have made a move that. Down the Wellington Straight now, Tony Lenta follows behind, and yeah, he's not going to be close enough to make anything happen this time, I'm afraid. Just a quick reminder, coming up in the schedule, we do have a couple more good ones, naturally, as you would. We head to Zandvoort next time out, Singapore the week after, and Miami the week after that. We got 3 good ones here as we do enter and continue through the back half of this season. And what's been a fantastic season so far. Action at every turn, literally and figuratively. But someone who hasn't seen much action today is that of Ayahuasca. That's just the bottom line. There was times he was 4 seconds behind the battle between the top two. He's now 4 seconds ahead of second place. Again, definitely strategical error there from Reimer, but Ayahuasca earning his keep today. He's got one more lap left to go. Charlie Golf, his only hope really is if either Ayahuasca makes a mistake or picks up a penalty, and then he's still got to eat up another second there. Final lap of the Grand Prix underway. We've got King Pro around the outside of Monster there. Monster seems to have some sort of moment coming out of Stowe. Once again, this battle for that third spot. Now actually the second spot here, really, as Charlie Golf is falling backwards. Reimer now might be within striking distance of that second position, but Tony Lenta, will he play a factor? Will Reimer or Charlie Golf pick up a 3-second penalty in the only time that we have left? Well, what I can tell you, Ronnie's picked up an additional 6 seconds. He will now be losing that spot to DJ Flat. Initially, it looked like he was safe for the majority of this run here since the safety car. And now I'm afraid that is no longer the case. Through Cop's Corner for the final time. Now through Maggots and Beckett's. And eventually Chapel after that. Tony Lenta, he's not taking it cleanly. Reimer to the back end of Charlie Golf here for the second spot. DRS activated. Reimer needs this one. Ayahuasca will still get more of an advantage atop the table, but Reimer, could he at least finish second and help him? Contact made there. It stays relatively clean. Monster's gone off, exiting Cops, but Ayahuasca, how in the hell has it happened for him? I'll tell you how. Well, pure pace, pure skill. Purely a good win there for Ayahuasca. Around the final corner, Charlie Golf will go up to third after Tony Lenta's penalty. DJ now up to fifth as Ronnie will take sixth. We do have a couple of cars still battling here. Entering Vale and Club, and Valentine's going to have a wee bit of a slide there. Will be Quokka crossing the line in seventh, up 6 positions as well. Tony Lenta up 8, Quokka up 6, Jacob up 8, Valentine up 6 as well. Fantastic race here. And hey, for Hotspot, it has been a pleasure joining you today. Do be sure to join us next time out when we do head to the Zandvoort circuit in the Netherlands for another round of this Monkey Mafia esports season. Thank you so much for watching. And as Capitan eventually crosses the line, we'll see you next time.